Hello, everyone, and we are here for our monthly Q&A, Ally members, and I am with Mr. Mark Dawson. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Orna.
We're here, this time we're actually coming live from London Book Fair, which is very exciting. We're talking about advertising for authors. So we have now this new format whereby every so often we drill down into a particular area of interest to our members and invite them to submit their questions about the things that are of particular interest to them about a particular topic. And I have to say that probably nothing is more of interest to people at the moment than paid ads for authors. And Mark is the person who has, more than anybody, I think, brought a fantastic range of courses and ideas and free webinars and all sorts of information for authors who are interested in promoting their books in this way. So we're really delighted to have you along to answer our members' questions. Thank you very much.
Looking forward to it.
So can you just give me a sort of a breakdown of about 2 years ago, you first launched your first Facebook ads course. So obviously at that point you had some success yourself, and that's where it started, I'm guessing. Am I right?
Yeah, so I originally started doing Facebook ads from a position of reasonably strong sales, and they were one of the main accelerants that took me from being a reasonably well-selling author to being a pretty well-selling author. So I'd seen a friend of mine, Nick Stevenson, who you'll know. He'd done a course, and I thought I had something useful to contribute as well. So originally I was going to do a course that would cover all of self-publishing, and I'm a pretty laid-back kind of guy, but it was one of the only times I can remember that I kind of looked at the scope of what I was trying to undertake, and it was just too much for me. So my wife and I had a chat, and we decided that I had two courses of action. I could either knock it on the head and go back to writing books, which seemed quite attractive at the time, or I could try and niche down and focus on what was particularly of interest to most of the authors that I was speaking to. And they knew I was using Facebook ads, and they wanted me to tell them how to do that, both to use ads to drive mailing list signups and also to sell books. And that was the decision that we made, is that we'd focus down, really get into the nitty-gritty of Facebook ads. And the course came out for the first time. I don't exactly know the date now. It's been a bit of a blur since then, but it was a couple of years ago.
Okay, we will talk about Facebook ads today. We have some questions on that, but what's really of interest to people and what's kind of hot right now, I think, and that people are seeking a lot of information on, is Amazon ads. So when did you start to use those yourself?
I got involved with them reasonably early on, so maybe a year to 18 months ago. And in those days, you could only use them if you were in Select. And I had a couple of books in Select, and I tested them and was really disappointed with how effective they were. In other words, they were not effective at all. So I let them run for a bit, didn't really do much with them, and in the end just switched them off and moved on. And then I think it would be like October or November 2016, one of the students in one of our closed Facebook groups reported that they had been open to all books, regardless of whether they were exclusive. And this was before Amazon announced it. It was kind of, they opened it and we found out. So I jumped straight back in again and tested them again. And this time there were some new options that were available, sponsored keyword ads in particular. And I immediately saw that they were much more powerful and more successful. And so I've been working on them quite hard for the last 6 months or so. Spent a reasonable amount of money, but have made quite a bit more back from that. So that's always a good indication that the ads are working well.
And in a nutshell, just before we get into talking about them in more detail, what would you say is the key difference between using Facebook in the main, using Amazon in the main?
So there are pros and cons for both. So the pros for Facebook, first of all, it's the most established ads platform from social networks. Generally, I'd say it's probably the most effective ads platform, full stop, right now. And it's still something that all authors should be doing, both to build their lists and to sell their books. And the reason for that, apart from the fact that its targeting is laser precise, the audience is enormous. So, a billion people are on Facebook. So you can find your audience for almost any book that you're writing. There will be, your niche will be represented by people on Facebook, and you can get those ads to those people. The difference with Amazon, with Facebook, the typical Facebook user is not necessarily in the mood to buy books. They're probably there to socialize, to see pictures of cats doing stupid things and all that kind of, read dodgy news stories, all of that kind of stuff. So they're not necessarily in the mood to be buying books. The difference with Amazon is that Amazon is a retail platform. It's also the third largest search engine in the world, which is something that people often forget. And the key difference, the real plus of Amazon Ads is it's a weaponized search engine. So by that I mean Amazon has your credit card, and it will enable you to make a purchase with one click. So if you combine that ease of transaction with the mindset of people on the platform, they want to be buying something, they're looking for something to read, for example, it's a really useful congruence of circumstances that makes it a very powerful place to be advertising.
And I will get to our members' questions now in a second, but I have one more question, which is in terms of mindset, the type of author that does better with particular ads, do you have any thoughts about that? Facebook ads suit you if you're this type of person. Amazon ads would suit you better if you're that type of author.
No, I think authors should probably be at least trying both. Facebook ads, you'll need to be a little bit more careful because Facebook is very, very good at taking money. Amazon, conversely, is not very good at taking money. So if you're concerned about budget, a good place to start is probably Amazon, because you will struggle to, at least at the moment, you will struggle to lose very much because it's quite difficult to get them to spend. Facebook, you need to be a little bit more careful with.
Okay, so let's just talk Facebook for a moment. We have somebody who has asked a good kick-off kind of Facebook question, which is, are you better to put your money into boosting a post or, oh yeah, I know. So talk to the people about that.
Okay, so boosting posts is very tempting to use. It's very tempting because it appears on all of your posts. It's just a nice little button, click boost, get it broadcast to more of your page fans or your followers. The problem with it, and it is getting better all the time, they are increasing the power and the targeting options available to you through that medium, but it's much less powerful than using the Power Editor or the Ads Manager to actually create an ad, target the ad, make sure the copy is right, you get more to play with, more options. The Power Editor is, the name kind of gives it away, it is the place where you'll get more power and more options to make your ads more effective.
So you wouldn't recommend people using Facebook ads to boost their Facebook page?
No, to boost your page, the only reason you'd do that is to get more likes, and that's 5 years ago is a really good idea. Having a big Facebook community on your page was great because the organic reach was very high. And by that I mean, if you posted, it would get maybe 50 or 60% of your fans. Since they've made it pay to play, they've reduced the organic reach down to about 1%. So if you want to broadcast a message, you do have to pay to do that. So it makes more sense to be looking at using ads to do that. And by building likes, the other downside to that is you'll pay to get the likes, and then you'll have to pay again to reach them. So it makes more sense just to cut the first step out and just go directly to your audience.
Orna has said that Mark would rather have a sign-up than a sale. How can that possibly make sense?
Well, it's very true. I would much rather have a sign-up than a sale. So, this is a kind of a mindset question. I'm in this is my career. So I've been doing it full-time for 2.5 years. I intend for this I don't ever want to work in a cubicle again. So this is my job. And bearing in mind that that's the case, I know that I'll have more books to sell. I've got another book out in May this year. I'll have at least one more out this year after that, probably two. I would rather be able to give away a book to get someone on my mailing list, knowing that at the moment there's 24 other books they could buy on my backlist, and I'll be adding to that of 3 or 4 books a year going forwards. So I've run, I actually hired a statistician over the weekend to do some sums for me because I'm terrible at maths. And we worked out what the average lifetime value of each subscriber was. So I know exactly what I should be bidding to get them onto the on my mailing list. So I know that a subscriber is worth a decent amount to me over time. So I'm quite happy to give up the possibility of one royalty in exchange for maybe 10 royalties over the course of that subscriber's relationship with me.
Okay, great. And what about this member here? It has a standalone, series of standalone books. So 8 books, but not in a series. What's your thoughts about Facebook ads or paid advertising for standalone fiction?
Okay, so it makes it a little bit more difficult because just generally writing in series is kind of the accepted wisdom right now. It will make it more easy because you hook people on the characters, the continuing story arc, for et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that doesn't mean that standalone ads can't work. And I've got, say, 4 standalone books in my backlist, and I do run ads to those. And the way I would recommend the member does that is they are the brand, right? It's not necessarily, for me, my brand is John Milton. He is known, I think most people would know, most of my readers would be able to recall his name faster than they can recall mine. That's fine, I don't care. They're buying my books, whatever happens. If you're not writing a series, then you are the brand. You need to work on that in the same way that Ian Banks, for example, with his non-culture books, he was the brand. And that's the thread that goes through all of them is your writing.
Do you have any theories or insights on how Facebook choose who in your target audience they're posting your ad to? If I run a repeat campaign against the same target audience a few months later, I get comments from people I don't know saying they've read and enjoyed the book. This is very gratifying as I only reach 5 to 10% of my target audience with each campaign. It suggests that Facebook is posting the ad to the same people in the target audience each time. If so, any thoughts on how to avoid?
Well, first of all, it depends how big your target audience is. So, I mean, I'll be advertising into big lookalike audiences most of the time of maybe a couple of million. So I spend a lot of money on ads, and there is going to be some frequency of ads going to the same person more than once, but it's minimized by the size of the audience. In terms of avoiding that happening, you can exclude people from your ad targeting as well. So you could and probably should exclude fans of your page, people who are on your mailing list. All of these things can be set up as exclusions so that you're trying to maximize the chances of it just being fresh.
Okay, fantastic. I publish in the niche area of visionary fiction. I'd like to try Facebook ads. I just added the pixel to my website. I currently have very little traffic on my website though, and I'm focusing on building my email list. Do you think it's wise to go ahead and try less targeted Facebook ads in an effort to train the pixel? Or should I wait for a response to my email campaigns?
Well, this member obviously knows what he or she is doing. That's good. Getting the pixel on the site is a really good idea. If it's fairly early on in a career, I would be concentrating on building a list. I think that's more sensible. That's going to be the most valuable asset that a writer will have is a list of qualified readers who've signed up because they'd like that kind of thing. So I'd be concentrating on that.
So again, the sign up rather than the immediate sale. Okay, so moving then maybe over to focus a little bit more on Amazon. So there, some members who have gone there and are already working with Amazon ads, but there are lots of members who haven't gone there at all. So can you just kind of lay the foundation? You're going to be redoing your Facebook for All course. It's now going to be advertising for authors, and it's going to include a section on Amazon ads and maybe some others as well. Let's focus in on Amazon. So say I know nothing. Tell me, Mark, everything you know. In 5 minutes.
Okay, so I mean, it's very easy to use the platform. It's very simple. You go into your KDB account. You can get to the ads platform either by going into the buttons on the right-hand side of your books and choosing to promote or advertise, or you can go to the reports page, and above the graph showing your sales, above it to the left is a button, I think that says advertise or something along those lines. You click on that, and it's very simple. You just pick the book you want to advertise. You choose what kind of campaign you want, either a product display ad or a sponsored keyword ad. You then, the next step is dependent on what you've chosen. You set a budget that you want to bid for, a maximum budget that you're prepared to spend every day. You won't spend that. Amazon almost certainly won't. And then it's just a question of setting the ads to go live. Amazon will approve or disapprove them, and away you go.
And one of the questions was, should I choose sponsored or should I choose keywords?
So try both. Product display was the one they originally ran, and it didn't work very well then. I don't find they're working very well now either, but I have spoken to some authors who are having some success with product display ads. So it's worth testing, and those ads appear on the actual product page. So if you went to The Cleaner, so the first book of my Milton series, beneath the buy button there'll be an ad by someone who's bid on my name or my book. I suspect the reason they don't work quite so well is because you're very near the end of the buying decision. So if you've searched for me, you've gone to my product page, and you've hovered your cursor over buy now, it's going to take quite a lot to go down and then go, I'll buy this other author I've never heard of before. So but they do work for some people, so it's worth testing. Sponsored keyword ads, on the other hand, are earlier in that decision process. So if I'm on Amazon, I go to the search bar, type in Mark Dawson. If you go down to the bottom, you'll see ads from people who have, again, bid on that key phrase, Mark Dawson. And because they're earlier in that decision, I might not have made my mind up that I want a Mark Dawson book. It might be that I want an Orna Ross book. If you are foolish enough to bid on, I don't think our audiences match, but, you know.
Not a great crossover, but
You know. But so if you're writing thrillers, then that might be a good place to be, because you may be able to fill some of my potential readers and send them to your page. So that's the way that they work. I think that's why sponsored keyword ads are working better at the moment. But as I say, others are getting product display ads to work, and I've had a few work too. So a good way to start is to go onto your Amazon ad page, and if you're doing sponsored keywords, it will give you some suggested keywords that you can start with. So these are the keywords that Amazon algorithmically suggests might be good places for you to get going. They're quite broad, so for me it would almost certainly have action adventure, that's a fairly broad one. I usually like to be more targeted than that. A second tip to get more targeted is to go after authors who are quite like you, so that you share audiences. And a good place to get some really good tips on that is to go onto your Amazon author page. The left-hand side beneath your bio will have readers also bought books by these authors. So for me, it would be Lee Child, David Baldacci, James Patterson, people like that. And you can start to advertise for those as keywords. And then, of course, you can drill down further and go into people who also like their pages. So you can quickly build up a list like that. And the other thing, I'd say the final thing, is on bidding. So you'll need to set, you bid on clicks on Amazon. So you're only charged when you get a click on your ad. Amazon will suggest a bid of, usually it's 25 cents at the moment. That's what it suggests is a good bid to start with. Don't be afraid to try and toy around with that. So go lower, and you may find you get clicks that are cheaper. And also go higher. It doesn't necessarily mean if you bid 40 cents, you will be charged at 40 cents. You might find you get charged at 23 cents. But because you're bidding higher, it's possible you're getting an advantage over others you're certainly getting an advantage over others who are bidding lower than you.
And one question I wanted to ask you about was scaling. So getting some success, how do you actually scale that, which is something you've managed to do really successfully, and a number of people who've done your course have managed to do very successfully. What's the key to that?
Yeah, that is the $64,000 question, almost literally, I guess. But it's the problem is, I said Amazon won't take all of your money, right? And for Amazon, that's a bit weird. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. There's the departments need to be talking to each other. But the way you can set a top line budget of, say you have an ad, you can set a budget for $10 a day. You almost certainly will not spend $10 a day, even on ads that are working really well, which is very frustrating, because I would love to spend up to the budget. So if you think about it this way, let's say you've got a budget of $10. You can get 2 ads to spend $5 each, which is not necessarily going to be possible. It may not spend that much. Or you could get 10 ads that each spend £1 each. That is possible. So it's a bit of an inelegant way to do it. It's kind of brute force. But you're basically throwing up so many different ads. I've got, I think, 210 variations running at the moment. And across that, I can generate a spend of, say, $50 a day. And usually that will make $100 a day, say. So until the platform is iterated to the extent that it becomes easier to make those successful ads serve more, just run more ads.
Interesting. That's very interesting. And just talk to people for comparison as to how that differs from Facebook, what you do on Facebook.
Well, there's a reason why Facebook is like a multi-billion-dollar company now. If you set a daily budget of $50 on Facebook, Facebook will spend $50. There's no two ways about it. Sometimes, in fact, if the ads are going well, they'll run an extra 25% worth of ads to continue running those ads. So yeah, I mean, with Facebook, the advice I always give is, you've got to test all of these platforms. Always, Amazon is the same. But with Facebook, be very careful that your top budget, your daily budget, is within what you can afford, because it almost certainly will be spent. Amazon, not so much likely.
And in terms of scale on Facebook, in terms of scaling up, top tips around that?
Do it carefully. So again, these algorithms are in play in both of these platforms. You can very easily screw up the Facebook algorithm. If you've got an ad that's running at $10 a day and it's making you 100% return, so you're getting $20 back, that's excellent. What you don't want to do is to get greedy and go, all right, I'm going to go up to $50 a day, because almost certainly the ad will stop functioning successfully, because the algorithm, I mean, we could get into quite technical details about how algorithms work, but the bottom line is it will get confused and it won't serve the ad as successfully. So the best way is to be patient, and I usually say let the ad run for 2 or 3 days at your initial budget. Make sure you're taking the data and you're monitoring it, and then very slowly start to increase it. So you might go maybe between 25 and 50% increase day on day. So you might go from $10 maybe to $15, which I'd say would be the maximum I'll increase it. Then leave it another couple of days, and then maybe go to $25, and then maybe go to $50. But you're gradually scaling up, and eventually you'll get to a point where I suspect there's a sliding scale in action, and you'll get to a point where increasing the budget will lead to a comparative slowdown in profits. It's probably about the point where you want to stop. And when that happens, the best thing to do is just to duplicate the ad and start from scratch again. So you keep that one running and then start to scale up a second ad.
Very interesting. Okay, that's great. Is there anything they should know not to do?
So not to do on Facebook. Don't spend too much. Don't set a daily budget of $50 when you're just starting out, because you could lose all that in your testing phase. So you definitely don't want to do that. With Amazon ads, there are some fairly stringent requirements on what you can say in your ad copy. So let's say if I had a review from the Times, you have to attribute the review. You have to be clear about your attribution. Some of these I'm just going to have to try and recall because I don't have my notes with me, but you can't do. They're not keen on you referring to the review process, so you're not likely to be allowed to say 55-star reviews. You need to be more generic than that. And images as well. Your image will be your book cover. Because these ads are unbidden, so people aren't searching for them, they can just appear in their search results. Salacious content, they're very, very strict on. So man chest, you're unlikely to get away with that. And don't have things like guns pointing from covers out of the screen, not too much blood, that kind of stuff. So that is something to think about if you want to run ads early on in your process. When you're thinking about your book cover design, you need to be thinking, will this pass muster as an image in my Amazon ad?
Fantastic. And final question, which I missed out on. How many keywords is optimal?
For Amazon? Yes. Amazon, they'll let you run up to 1,000. And I would say, I don't think there is an optimal. That's not possible to give an answer for that. But I have ad campaigns with 1,000 keywords running, some of those 200 that we mentioned. Lots of those won't be getting served, but I want to give Amazon's algorithm the chance to run through lots of variations, find the ones. Relevance is important in the process of choosing which ads get served, and I want it to be able to run lots of tests, find keywords that are running effectively, and then run more of those. So giving it more option is not a bad idea. On the other hand, I've got other campaigns that are running with 50 keywords or 30. So it's just a question of again testing. That's the one mantra that is applicable to all of these platforms is test, monitor carefully so you can gauge success or failure, and then act accordingly.
How much time do you put into ads?
Enough. Amazon actually is quite easy to monitor. I've got a spreadsheet that I built. It's just a question of pulling out the daily spreadsheet. I do it every day at the same time, so everything is identical as much as I can make it. I cut and paste it, drop it into my spreadsheet, and then I just run a couple of calculations on it, all automated, that enable me to check that I'm making a profit or not making too much of a loss. So that probably takes 10 minutes. The actual doing the ads, so getting the keywords, that can take a long time. That could take almost as long as you want. There are some shortcuts we haven't got time to go into right now, but there are some ways that you can grab lots of keywords quite quickly. But that's where the time is. And Facebook, same kind of principle. You're going to be spending a bit more time monitoring them, especially if you're using affiliate tracking through a landing page to make sure you're gauging which ads are working, which ones aren't. But even when I was running $1,000 a day worth of ads, I probably wasn't spending any more than 20 to 30 minutes a day monitoring those ads.
Okay. So that's all the questions. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your course and what's changed and what's coming up and what people can expect? And are you sure there's no way you can tell us that shortcut?
Yeah, a good way. Look at Goodreads. Look at Listopia. Right, there's a good way. There's you can get big lists of keywords. So maybe there'll be a list for like the 1,000 best thrillers. And the clever tip is how you get those 1,000 keywords and put them onto your Amazon ad. And there are some software tools. There's something called import.io that's worth looking into that can automate some of that. That works quite well. So there's a good free tip there. It will certainly save some time. But the courses, we've got two. The one that's most relevant for this is Ads for Authors, as you say. That goes live on the 22nd of March, so next Wednesday from when we're recording this. And that's live for 2 weeks, and we'll run it again for another 2-week period later in the year. We don't open it perpetually because they tend to be quite popular, and I'm not comfortable with onboarding tons and tons of authors all the way through the year, because we try to make sure that everyone gets a really primo experience as they come onto the course. For those who are slightly further back in their careers or just getting started, we've got a course called 101, which is intended to take people from the moment they finish their manuscript to getting it uploaded, to mastering the algorithm, to cover design, writing copy, all of that kind of stuff. And we've had plenty of Ally members. We did a joint launch not too long ago. Over 50 took the course up, and as far as I'm aware, I've had a really good experience. So it's been great to work together with that.
Great. It has been great working together, and thanks, Mark, and thanks for coming in to answer our members' questions today. And we will be showing this. We're also showing this for Fringe on Saturday, so it will go out and reach lots of authors. Thanks so much.
My pleasure.